Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what is called the world's most watched professional wrestling news program, the Pro Wrestling Report. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside the man they call, I like that when you were out of the shot, the man they call Meathead. Meathead, how are you?
Clean shaven.
Glad that you could join us for the whole episode this week. Actually, I'm not, but better to have you here than not.
Liar, liar,
Frank
liar.
wasn't able to make it. Now, see, we said last week we can only do certain things in weeks when Frank is here. Frank not able to make it this week, but we are here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Pro Wrestling Report, as we said, the world's most watched professional wrestling news program. We're going to talk this week about a lot of stuff, but the biggest news story of the week so far is the return to Raw of Ric Flair. The Nature Boy, Meathead, returns to Raw this past Monday night from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Woo!
And it is a much-hyped return over a one-week period. Ric Flair, give you a little history, folks, was out of action, out of WWE for approximately 6 months due to several reasons. Some say contract issues, some say just needing time off, some say dealing with some personal issues, but no matter what, we can guarantee you,
business
he was indeed, that's the one thing we can confirm, was indeed starting a new marketing company, he calls, which is, I think, one of those check advance places or something of that nature, loans.
Isn't it cash and gold? Because one of those just opened up down by the house.
Cash
if you got
and
gold, if you got gold, we'll give you cash. If you got cash, we'll give you gold.
Like a herringbone?
Something like that. Bling, bling, baby.
The retirement was teased on WWE.com and television leading up to Ric Flair's return to Raw this past Monday night. Obviously, though, Meathead, he did not retire. Made it quite obvious that he was going to retire and then chose not to.
I'll tell you what, and then obviously we saw what happened afterwards, so he will retire if he loses a match.
Interesting storyline, as what Meathead just referenced to, says that he plans to, quote-unquote, die in the ring.
He almost did on a Nitro one night in his Florida Gator boxers.
Then out comes the man, the boss, Vince McMahon, who tells Ric Flair that he will indeed retire. And he will do so upon losing his first match. Now, Meathead, we don't know if that means disqualification. We don't know if that means count out. All we know that at this point, if Ric Flair loses
actually.
a
Vince
match,
mentioned that in his promo. Vince mentioned, I don't care if you lose by DQ, I don't care if you lose by count out. If you lose, and then that's it.
you're fired.
No, I'm not fired. Retired.
Then we see Randy Orton come out, and there was more posted on WWE.com later with Vince McMahon saying he's doing this to protect Ric Flair and doing it for Flair's well-being, looking out for Flair's health and personal safety. Then we see the champion, Randy Orton, come out and thank Ric Flair for teaching him to be such a great performer and thanking him for allowing Ric Flair
I think he licked
to end his career.
Too. Did he lick his ear? Because he got up and goes, thank you. Kind of gold dust-like.
And then it's the main event on Raw.
Trying.
Randy Orton versus Ric Flair. Ric Flair, it's a career-threatening match, which I hope we don't have to see that every week. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But Meathead, your thoughts overall on the opening of Raw with, well, after the main event, with the opening of Raw with Ric Flair teasing retirement, but then saying he will die in the ring, and McMahon making the dictate that he did.
That was, the Ric Flair angle, the entire plot of the whole thing is very tasty.
Ooh, you like it?
Yeah. You know, it's funny, too, because it's something that Frank Cosentino has been mentioning for 6 months to a year now. This is how you let Ric Flair go.
This is how you're fair to Flair?
And you know what? I never thought Frank would get one right. But Frank got one right. I'm okay with it. It can't be an every week thing, though, and you're going to get into that in a second. It cannot be an every week thing because it will lose its flavor real quick. Just like macaroni and cheese every second meal. Just can't happen.
And that is the question. How long can this angle go? Okay, we both agree it certainly can't be a match every week because it loses its specialness of career-threatening match.
Taker style.
Oh, well, again, he's going to lose. Do you do it at the next 3 pay-per-views? Do you do it at Royal Rumble? Do you do it at Armageddon? Do you do it at No Way Out?
You do it at each of the pay-per-views. You do it at each of the pay-per-views, and you throw in an occasional match. So if there's, let's say, 4 Raws between pay-per-views, 1, maybe 2 of those. 1, but not 2, every other. That'd be too much. You gotta pepper it in once in a while. And again, as Damien just said, you gotta pepper it in and give it a special type feel.
The main event.
All types of matches too. I mean, he needs to be in every match he's ever been in his career. I mean, if it's going to be a career retrospective, he needs to be in every match he's been in. Vince needs to run down the gauntlet of what he has done in his career. If he's been in a Texas Bull Rope match, get him in a Texas Bull Rope match.
He's been in a Texas Bull Rope match.
Okay.
You know, I think it's factual that Randy Orton had not even been born by the time Ric Flair started wrestling, and this being the first career-threatening match was against Randy Orton. Now, Meathead, the match, the main event, it was Orton. Well, actually, it wasn't the main event because the main event opened Raw. But that's what they kept saying. I'm just trying to think backwards, think in reverse. But it was, you know, the match of Randy Orton versus Ric Flair at the top of the card. The quality of that match, Meathead. And this is the problem. I wonder, I will preface this statement by saying Ric Flair is, as Jim Ross said, perhaps the greatest professional wrestler in the history of the sport. Potentially.
And if he said the sport, obviously he was talking out of his hat, but we know what he's talking about.
Many people have that opinion about Ric Flair. Now, Ric Flair's match quality over the years has certainly changed. Ric Flair, a man who could go in there and deliver a 60-minute classic with just about anyone. Hell, I think him and the Duke the Dumpster Drosy could have had a 60-minute epic on the top of a Clash of Champions near the end. But as of late, and even this past Monday, things are just sort of awkward in the ring when Ric Flair is wrestling. And it's almost like you sort of watch it, and it's like, look back to the Hogan Rock match at WrestleMania 18, which, you know, is one of the top 5 matches that I've ever witnessed on the screen. But Hogan botched a lot in that match. The match wasn't a scientific
No, but that's not what you take away from that match.
But what are you taking away from the Ric Flair matches?
The psychology. Well, not as of late. This Raw match in particular, I took away. Well, it's not going to happen now. They're going to milk it, but it has a better feel to it. It had the boys in the back.
Not all of them, though.
Of course, not all of them.
That was just for Triple H to give, you know, Ric Flair a hug.
We understand that.
Such. I wonder if a lot of us wrestling fans are ignoring how bad at times the matches are.
No, because
it's Ric Flair.
Because I'm a Ric Flair hater and an Undertaker. No.
We got to address that Undertaker thing too. Malicious rumors are out there. It's almost like, you know, Bill Clinton.
It's better than pictures of poo on your face. I don't hate Ric Flair, but it is the quality of the matches. I guess maybe general fans have been ignoring the quality of his matches. I have not. Not that I'm not a general fan, but I can't stand to watch a Ric Flair match because the man needs to wrestle with a T-shirt on, for one. Okay? He looks like a guy that, you know, lives at a daycare, an adult daycare, you know, at one of these...
Shady Pines.
Yeah, Shady Pines.
Use that for reference.
Yeah. Matter of fact, wasn't Scott Hall living there for a while, too?
Could have been.
Could have been. But that's what he looks like. I mean, the receding hairline, now Hogan was able to get away with the receding hairline for years, but Rick just looks frail.
Rick is a legend. I do firmly believe, and I've said before, that Rick may indeed want to
die in the ring.
And that is quite sick. But I think that, you know, the rumor is that this is going to take us into WrestleMania 24 in Orlando, Florida at the Citrus Bowl, and Ric Flair will have the big match that night. Ric Flair, allegedly the big name inductee into the Hall of Fame this year. It all makes perfect sense. And this is really a good way to have him have his last run.
Great, fantastic. Matter of fact, if that's the case, if this is the case of what's going to happen, it better be a title match.
Because you think about it,
it better be Undertaker versus Flair for the title.
If it were, here's how you book it, folks. If I were in the booking committee. Flair, just like this past Monday on Raw, he goes up against the likes of Randy Orton, whoever, somebody interferes. And, you know, that interference at one time should at least be somebody coming out and attacking Ric Flair so the other guy gets disqualified so Ric Flair wins.
They may happen down the
Something happens every week, and then finally it said, nobody may interfere. If anybody interferes, Flair, well, you know, retires tonight, fine. Then he wins that match fair and square. Then the next week there's some other gimmick, or the next time there's some other gimmick.
Like I
there's a lot of potential.
Like I just mentioned to you, you need to run the gauntlet of everything that Ric Flair has done in his career. I mean, all those different things.
But you really want to see Ric Flair in a Texas Bull Rope match, steel cage match?
I think he makes Dusty Rhodes come out and wrestle Ric Flair in a 5-minute Texas Bull Rope match.
Now, when that happens, you will be the same man sitting here saying, why are they putting that on TV?
If it's a 5-minute match, then it makes sense.
You just suggested. Okay.
I just said a 5-minute match.
How often should he wrestle? You said maybe once a month, not every week. Should it be just on the upcoming big shows, pay-per-views, whatnot?
At least the pay-per-views and then a special Raw here and there.
Will the fans?
But I think there should also be a
interest?
different interference, or interference by a different person each time.
Interesting scenario, folks. We'd like to see what y'all think. Blow it up on the forum. Click on the forum link going on over to the forum and in the WWE section. Go ahead and
well, if you're talking about Ric Flair, it needs to be in the Raw section.
I think we should get rid of the general discussion.
Well, general discussion again, and this has been mentioned before. The general discussion is the place where things that don't have a place to go.
But there's too much that doesn't have a place.
Right, I understand that, and Damien, myself, and the interns have taken a renewed interest in this forum. And trust me, we don't want to delete, ban anybody. We want everybody to be able to do whatever you do, but we got to do some work. Yeah.
But anyways, folks, give us your feedback. Let us know what you think about this Ric Flair situation. I thought it was very well done on Raw this past Monday night. It was clear he was not going to retire. However, I did not expect what they did come up with and what they did deliver. And I think it made a lot of sense. And boy, it was great seeing a non-title match, which that's so significant that it was a non-title match because Ric Flair could have won that match fair and square with a pinfall, which he did win, but it wasn't fair and square. You sort of knew, okay, well, it's non-title. This means Flair could potentially win.
Also, again, that's how Frank said that Flair should get his last title run.
To be fair to Flair.
Frank said, and again, I'm going to give all credit to Mr. Cosentino, the Cos. Frank said that by dirty tricks, by dirtiest player in the game, he just...
By hook or by crook!
Seems to keep getting by the skin of his teeth. Over and over and over.
He is the dirtiest player in the game.
And now he has a t-shirt that says dirtiest player in the game.
Let's talk about the rest of Monday Night Raw this past Monday night.
By the way, hot Raw.
Very good. As I said in PWR Express, this Raw told a story. From the moment it came on the air to the moment it went off the air, it told a story. It had a primary storyline, which was that of Ric Flair, built Armageddon, and had several subplots that really were intriguing, including how long was the Kennedy match?
It didn't matter. It was about a minute.
Mickie James gets the number one contender spot after pinning Melina 1, 2, 3 in the center of the ring.
The only thing wrong with that match was she didn't give her the longest goodnight.
Oh, she's saving it up for her.
Because I had it out. It was shined and ready to go. And
he's referring to his remote control, ladies and gentlemen. Remote control. Going to be a good match. Mickie James, former 3-time champion. Melina could have actually, typically, the way things have gone over the last few months, Melina would have been the one winning that match. So it's interesting to note that Mickie James...
It's time to get a worker in there again against another worker.
And then, as we said, Kennedy goes up against Brian Kendrick. It's the last time we've seen him in a singles match. Destroys him.
Destroys him.
And then challenges Shawn Michaels.
Destroys him.
Challenges Shawn Michaels to a matchup at Armageddon.
Destroys him.
You turn it on usually when you do that.
Oh, the battery's got loose.
You need a new gimmick there, son? Huh?
No.
HBK, Kennedy, Triple H, Jeff Hardy at Armageddon. Armageddon, the match of the card so far.
What I don't like,
that really have no build. But
what I don't like is the fact that they've glossed over the fact that Triple H and Jeff Hardy have had a small little program already.
You're not supposed to remember that, are you?
Okay.
Just like
Triple H
and Jeff Hardy had such a feud for so long.
Triple H lost the Intercontinental belt to him over a weekend. He lost the Intercontinental belt to Jeff Hardy over a weekend.
Lost it on the Intercontinental strap on the line.
Lost it on a Thursday. Won it back on a Monday.
You're talking in TV days. Is the Intercontinental strap on the line at Armageddon? Don't know at this point. Could be, could not be. But again, those are the three big matches announced this past Raw. I guess WWE realizing that, again, obviously, it was also Randy Orton going against Y2J for the championship. I guess WWE realized, ooh, hey, got a pay-per-view in 2 weeks. Got to announce some matches. And here they've done some very intriguing matches. And some are saying, Meathead, that this shows the depth that WWE now has to pick from in their roster to put on these pay-per-view shows.
When they're dual or tri-branded pay-per-views now, which all of them are because the brands are colliding again.
1 year ago, would you have thought it would be Triple H versus Jeff Hardy in a match on a pay-per-view?
In a
Would you have
pay-per-view
thought it would have
match?
been
No.
Kennedy versus HBK? Would you have thought it would have
Yes.
been Y2J versus Randy Orton on the top of the card?
Possibly.
Would you have thought the match to be announced tonight on SmackDown? This is a spoiler. If you have not watched SmackDown, turn down your volume, and then you bring it back up in about a minute. But the main event from Armageddon, Edge, Batista, and The Undertaker in a three-way dance, as announced by the returning the returning general manager, Theodore Arlong.
Pause.
Arlong.
Bring it up now. There you go. Volume back up.
That was the SmackDown spoiler of the week. And people, we get yelled at for giving spoilers when we say
Get a life.
it's a spoiler.
I'm sorry.
Just, if you hear spoiler, even sirens and such, and just turn it down. But be that as it may, Raw gets a 3.5 rating this past Monday night with about 5 million viewers. Some say a bit of a disappointment when you look at the fact that this was the first Raw where everybody knew Chris Jericho was returning. Also, the first Raw where you knew Ric Flair was going to be coming back. Meathead Monday Night Football this past Monday featured.
Oh, a donkey matchup. Oh, did you hear? The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Miami Dolphins. The game was 0-0 with just minutes remaining. Kicked
0-0 with just minutes remaining in the fourth quarter.
Yes. They finished 3-0.
The game was 3-0.
Yes. It was a monsoon in Pittsburgh.
I watched a tremendous Bears game last week.
Oh, don't get me started.
Are we celebrating 10-2? Or 11-1 right now?
11-1. 11-1. Don't get me started on the Bears game. Long story short, I lost a bobblehead over that game.
How
Who kicks the Devin Hester?
How are things on ESPN Radio on Saturday mornings with this, given this new Packers craze being here in Milwaukee?
That does make a difference. We talk fantasy sports, and I am struggling. As a matter of fact, I am playing Mr. Frank Cosentino in the final week of the regular season. I need to beat him by 68 points. Not going to happen.
1 point away, huh? Let's talk about TNA's Turning Point pay-per-view this Sunday, coming to you on your pay-per-view outlets. Being a little surprised by the minimum number of matches that have been announced for this show. But we'll start at the bottom of the card and work our way up. A very unique match concept. It is Feast or Fired. Hopefully, will not be anything like that whole turkey dinner fiasco that we saw on Impact last week, which at times was very funny. I will give you that. But
I'm sick of seeing Angle on my TV at every commercial break.
I think the best part of that, I think it was Kazarian who said, "This is the only way I'm going to get booked if I come to this thing." And what are they doing to JB in the back?
JB's getting it in the back, probably.
Stop it. Feast or Fired. 3 titles in 3 corners. In each corner there will be a case. And in 3 of those corners will be a title match opportunity for either the world title, the X Division title, or the tag titles, I believe. I don't understand how that one quite works, but...
That must mean you got to get a partner afterwards.
And then in one corner will be a pink slip. 15 superstars will be in the ring at the same time, and somebody's going to get one of these things, if not 3 of these things, and then a pink slip. Somebody's losing their job this Sunday at Turning Point.
So I'm guessing that somebody's going to get a pink slip before they get the final title shot? Because otherwise, if everybody got title shots...
Then nobody's going to pick anything else. Should be on the booking committee. You sit right next to Dutch Mantel.
Meathead in the back.
So that is, again, a unique match concept. It'll be interesting. Don't quite know who those 15 stars are at this point, but hopefully at least
Don't fire
they
Eric
can book
Young.
Petey Williams into one of these. And
Don't fire Eric
as
Young.
of this point, unless I'm missing something, Booker T is not even on the card. I don't understand that. But let's go through the rest of the card. It is then Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Samoa Joe in a 6-man tag team match going up against the Angle Alliance, if you will, which shouldn't be confused with Team Angle.
Team Angle had Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin.
It did, with the Hoods and World's Greatest Tag Team. It is Kurt Angle, Joey Styles, Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, and Tyson Tomko. Tomko, who may be out of that match due to an injury he may have suffered in Japan, but look for TNA giving the official information on that. No offense
Bring in
to
Albert.
Asian viewers out there.
Bring in Albert to take his spot. Bring in Albert to take his spot.
That matchup, 6-man tag match, it's a return to the ring of Scott Hall, Meathead.
Yeah, well, the turn of the TNA, ring of Scott Hall. He has been wrestling again, as you have mentioned on the show.
Puerto Rico.
In Puerto Rico, and he's also been doing some Gigolo championship wrestling.
Juggalo.
I call it Gigolo.
You know, and that's, I'm not going to fault
All
TNA
offense
for this,
intended to...
why are they letting him wear that stuff, to be honest with you? Does TNA realize that's somewhat of a competition for them? Somewhat of a competition.
Doesn't make a difference.
Team B will team up with, it's difficult to put two teams in one sentence. Team 3D will team up with Johnny Devine.
Who now is a part.
I like how that angle played out, by the way.
Neither of us can talk at all. Excuse me for a moment.
Yes.
Just go ahead.
I like how that angle played out on Impact last week with the kidnapping and then the save by the X Division and then the swerve, if you will, by Devine. But that will be a team going up against your fave meathead, the Motor City Machine Guns of Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, and Black Machismo. It will be a six-man tag team tables match.
That's 2 6-man tags. I mean, I understand they're trying to get. I understand they're trying to get all the talent to work.
I don't see Petey on here.
Petey's probably in the 15-man thing.
It's
like WCW World War III. Everybody else that they have on contract got thrown into the 60-man. 20 in each ring.
Yeah.
Is that going to end up?
If you've not seen, it's been a while since there's been a World War III. If you've not seen World War III, and you'll probably get it on Daily Motion or YouTube, check it out. It is the biggest train wreck in the history of professional wrestling. But such an amazing concept. That's the caboose of the wreck.
Oh yeah. Because you got Belly Well, you got Lee Marshall doing some work. You got Lee Marshall and Dusty Rhodes doing commentary. We're over here in the ring 3, and
let's check out what the action is in ring number 1. I will say that the cage matches that they used to do, I don't remember what they were called, where there were 2 rings surrounded by a cage, were excellent. Because somebody would always get caught between the 2 rings.
Fall Brawl?
Yeah, but the match had a name. Don't remember what it is. What kind of wrestling journalist are you? You don't remember the name of the
You don't even know the name, and you brought it up!
Abyss will team with Rhino to take on Black Rain and Relic. Killer backwards. In a match of 10,000 thumbtacks. Now, no matter what, folks, it's still not going to look like a lot of thumbtacks. 10,000 is a lot, but they probably use 10,000 every time they do. But anyways, tag match. We've been there before, to be honest with you.
But it'll still be an interesting match to watch.
It'll be fun, yeah. It'll be fun.
And it'll probably
maybe
open
somebody
the card.
will roll the rat
It'll
around in 10,000.
It'll open the card. I guarantee it.
For the Women's Championship, it will be Gail Kim taking on Awesome Kong.
And again, we're hoping for no wardrobe malfunctions from Awesome Kong. Hopefully some interference from some of the other, what do they call them, knockouts?
Knockouts.
And maybe some wardrobe malfunctions from them, too.
Another female match, knockouts match, rather, with ODB. The old dirty. Don't you say that. And
now, that's who I want a wardrobe malfunction from. Her and Tracy right now. Just let them out.
It takes a great deal of engineering, I think, for both her and Tracy Brooks to have ring attire.
Did you say Tracy Boobs?
Tracy, to have ring attire. Because how the puppies stay in the cage, I just don't understand. That is TNA Turning Point for this Sunday on pay-per-view. So check it out. Let's go back to Raw for a minute because we didn't talk about the
Comedy Gold. Are you talking about it? Are you talking about
Raw Class Count? Hello, KYJ. Which is absolutely hilarious. KYJ.
I actually, again, when I don't watch Raw live, kind of scan through that, I watch that over again. After it was done, I put it back. Hello, KYJ. Wait, who are you? I know this. And then
Santino. It just went on and on. It was great. Santino Marella, still one of the best things going on Raw right now.
Now, is that not the best person to start Y2J off with?
Oh, yeah. Yes. He is,
was that not perfect?
Totally. As he's walking down the ramp, that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, he is the class clown. That's what Santino Marella is. Yeah. And you just can't not watch him. I mean, really. Or wait to hear what's next out of his... I'm going to whip Jenny Lawler like a government dog.
I need to go back. I'm finding 2 machines. I need to have...
And he did it. He actually went in the back. And,
it took a commercial break to get him back in the ring again.
Very good stuff. Very good stuff. What do you think of your boy Jericho's new finisher, the Code Breaker?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I enjoyed his little visual aids. Title.
You still
match.
Did you ever make it beyond sophomore year? That's all.
That's why I love Santino. That's why I love Jericho.
Moving on, folks.
By the way, not moving on. We need to stay on this match for a second. Jericho looked great in the ring.
He got slimmed down substantially.
Got up in the ring and did what he had to do. couple spots off the rope.
And hit all of his old spots. And we misspoke last week. Apparently, Jericho stated he had been training at Lance Storm's.
I didn't mention it. I knew it. I did not mention it because I wanted it to be...
You Republican ass.
I read the same
article. Did you watch the YouTube debates this past week?
No. The only stuff I watch on YouTube is apparently linked off of Brawl.com.
Stop. Speaking of the stuff he watches on YouTube, Hulk Hogan has been served papers by his wife, Linda, for a divorce. Now, we know that Linda filed. Hogan has asked for privacy in the matter, and we will respect that request and report only the facts as they become available, which are that apparently a separation occurred during the taping of Hogan Knows Best last season.
So what happens to the season?
No surprise. They were able to stumble through it, but the show has not yet been renewed on VH1 for another year.
Hogan doesn't... Well, never mind.
Let's go to the match of the week for this week, ladies and gentlemen. This week is provided by TNA Impact of last Thursday. Keep in mind, folks, match of the week candidate. The 3-count candidates are Thursday through Wednesday, rather. As we typically will.
There's no matches on Wednesdays.
Wednesday night.
There's no matches on Wednesday, so it's Thursdays through Tuesday.
But just to make it a 7-day stretch, okay?
Okay. So if I see ODB rolling around with me and we tape it, that's a match?
It is a three-way dance, if you will. It was part of the Turkey Bowl, which was very well done by Impact. Impact was a great show last week, by the way.
Except for looking at Angle every... I'm tired of it.
Why is it that he finds the need to spit food out or to do something gross, him and JB, every week? That's the part I don't get. I mean, there's humor, and then that's gross and not entertaining.
I don't know.
Match of the week is AJ Styles versus Chris Sabin versus Samoa Joe, in which I believe Joe won and took $25,000 in the Turkey Bowl. Very good match. A series of good matches. Obviously, at the end, you saw AJ Styles
has to put on
like a turkey, which was a very unique turkey costume. It was no gobbledygooker, but then being embarrassed, if you will, by, well, of course not. Why would it? Being embarrassed and coming out and having to explain himself to not only Angle, but Christian Cage, which there's an open letter to Christian Cage from AJ Styles on AJ Styles, who plays the Goof very well. I know you were not a fan of that.
I'm still not a fan of it because it belittles him. I mean, it's entertaining.
You know, I will say the respect factor for AJ in general has probably gone down a notch
because of this character.
But really, where could he have gone? And where the hell's Christopher Daniels been? Yes, we saw the promo where he is God all of a sudden.
Who?
Christopher Daniels, Fallen Angel. I thought that promo crossed the line quite a bit, actually, on Impact this past week. Now, I am not one of the biblical sense, to be honest with you. TNA Impact Styles Sabin Joe is this week's match of the week, ladies and gentlemen. So we will then go from there and move into our thoughts on SmackDown. WWE SmackDown last week, which featured the return of Edge, the Rated R superstar, the Cutting Edge, also with the special guest, Batista.
But I think we need to go back to the opening segment.
Wait, hold up. Back up. Beep, beep, beep.
What is this?
Beep.
What is this? We need to go to the opening segment. And I knew it was going to happen when they got closer and closer. I was like a frightened little turtle. It just went away. I mean, at least Vicky had her arms covered. Okay, so we didn't see all the flabs shaking when she was getting all... I'm sorry.
I will say, as awkward as that whole segment was to watch, because I'm not sure what they were going for with Vicky's back turned and then yelling at Edge horribly, and then the whole makeout session.
I'm surprised she didn't mount
Which was better? When Stephanie and Eric Bischoff made out? Or when...
Stephanie's at least attractive. I'd give Stephanie a run for her money.
Remember, that was the makeout session that was never ever explained.
Yeah, it was on pay-per-view.
Yes. It was never, it just sort of happened.
Eric just went for it.
It's just sitting over there.
I mean, at least it wasn't Macho mounting Stephanie.
Or when Stephanie caught Triple H.
With
Trish lessons.
Oh, yeah.
That was priceless television. Maybe we'll see that on the 15th anniversary special on Raw.
Because that was the SmackDown moment.
It was. But anyways, it makes sense. Okay, folks, this angle, while troubling to watch, makes a lot of sense that Edge has been trying to get with Vicky over the last 4 months to plot his return, because Edge is all about Edge, folks. That's the storyline. Edge is all about Edge and will do whatever it takes to put himself back in that spot.
And I get it. And I get it. Because it made you uncomfortable. That's how they feel they get heel heat.
Well, speaking of heel heat, not quite sure in the delivery of this, but Undertaker comes out at the end of the night after Batista basically punks Edge and issues a tombstone pile driver to Vicky Guerrero, putting her out of commission for a good period of time, we can imagine, because as we said earlier during the SmackDown spoilers, we see a new general manager on SmackDown. But during that whole thing, JBL and Michael Cole didn't say a word. Edge just sort of sat there frustrated, but what does he care about? He didn't even care about Vicky. Why didn't he go save her? And the whole thing was just sort of awkward. I mean, I've used that word 3 times in this show now, but it's just sort of bizarre.
Again, I lost, all the blood rushed right back to my head when I saw her making out with Edge.
The show opened with MVP getting presented the United States Championship ring by the wrestling god, JBL. You know, like?
Me no likey.
JBL, several times, he never used the 2 words that everybody else has to use, sports entertainment. JBL used wrestling. Not just saying he's a wrestling guy, but how great a wrestler that MVP was. And MVP playing along very nicely, and the 2 had great chemistry.
JBL, not so much. MVP? Balling.
I believe it was a year ago. Was it not last year's Armageddon where he got set ablaze?
Yep.
And that's when JBL turned the fence, if you will. And that was actually Armageddon, and some say, and I may agree or disagree with this, that it should have been a candidate for pay-per-view of the year. But be that as it may, Armageddon 2006, folks, if you have not seen it, one of the best pay-per-views WWE put on last year. That was also the Joey Mercury face situation with the ladder match, the Hardys versus Eminem. Wow. Great pay-per-view. And that is indeed a year ago, which is so funny how fast things go in the world of professional wrestling sometimes.
And years go just as fast as days go and months go. They go as fast as they're supposed to.
In addition to that, Meathead, we saw a lot of ECW talent on SmackDown. Now, it has been announced and said publicly that there is a cooperative effort between ECW and SmackDown. Colliding. We saw The Miz and Morrison,
who hold the SmackDown Tag Champions.
Yeah, The Miz.
I don't hate him as much anymore, but
on the forum, we can question this. Why all the hate for Miz? Because he does just as much as John Cena. He put forth just as much effort as John Cena. He tries just as hard as John Cena.
I don't hate John Cena. I
respect John Cena. I
don't know if I respect The Miz yet. I don't hate The Miz as much anymore. The Miz is out there doing what he's supposed to.
But you know what I've never looked at, really? And I will say this. I've never really looked at The Miz wrestle. I've never really evaluated his wrestling talent.
There's a couple spots, but what The Miz has gotten a lot better at is drawing a little bit of heat. It's not a lot. Don't get me wrong. And the combination of The Miz and John Morrison...
who's got probably the best entrance in WWE.
Oh, that entrance is awesome.
I don't have hair, so it's not the same, but...
Because the fans hit him, too.
It's just a great entrance.
When are you going to grow the bald fro?
Never. SmackDown overall, what'd you think last week?
It's kind of like going out to a bar and seeing the hottest chick there, and she turns you down, and you kind of, woo, and it goes away. It's kind of hard to work back up from that again.
Let's talk a little bit more about TNA, folks. Jeff Jarrett. They haven't seen him in quite a while in TNA. Obviously, got some things he's dealing with. The wife passed away. He's got a couple kids to raise, and he's also a prominent member of the management team of TNA. Said not to be planning on returning to the ring anytime soon, at least for the next few months.
You know what Jeff should do? Is use himself as a special bump for rating, for pay-per-view.
But that's the question. Is he missed? Is he that special? Is he that bump? Is he really... Is there an impact on the product?
Not as much as
positively
he
or
may
negatively
think.
by him not being there?
Not as much as he may think. There's no impact right now on him not being there. But if it's hyped up that there's going to be a guest partner, then also...
Oh, that's what they did at Bound for Glory, remember, when he returned? I think it was last year's, not this past year's, but last year's Bound for Glory, where he made his big return, and then the promo.
No, last year's Bound for Glory is where he got sent off. He lost his title to Sting.
Yes.
He could use himself. No, I don't miss him. He could use himself to pump a rating here and there if he wanted to.
Continuing with TNA, Against All Odds, one of their 2008 pay-per-views will be going on the road.
Wait, is that Phil Collins or TNA?
TNA.
Because Phil Collins was Against All Odds, too.
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
That's going to be in Greenville, South Carolina, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Also announced on Kurt Angle's
Isn't that kind of Flair country?
That was Flair country for the Nitro reformation of the Four Horsemen.
Woo? That was a woo-in question.
Also rumored to host a pay-per-view in Boston in 2008 is TNA.
Again, makes sense. Tel Aviv, not so much.
One interesting note is WWE ran a Raw house show in Greenville this past weekend, drew less than 5,000 fans in the arena, which I believe is the Bilo Center. Could be wrong, though. And now TNA is going, expecting to draw a lot of fans. Now, they're staying, I don't know how much further it is from Atlanta, but staying relatively close to Orlando, so their diehards can still make it to the show. But if they are doing the way WWE does, and this is a secret you may not know, but most of the time cities are booked by WWE based on the television ratings there. So if people are watching TV, the theory is they're going to buy tickets. Hopefully TNA is doing that same research and going to their strongest television markets. Now keep in mind they are still touring Mexico, will still be touring Canada, actually doing a show in Japan.
See, what happens with
rumor
that,
is they may consider taping portions of it for Impact.
What happens with that, though, is actually Japan and Mexico, they purchase TNA to come in and run their shows there. It's not TNA going out to try run shows there. They're paid for their appearances there, and then they put on their shows there. For something like, what they're doing in these other cities, you're absolutely right. They do check the TV ratings. That's why a city like Milwaukee, for example, when wrestling was hot, was getting 3 shows a year. And a house show.
Yeah. Sid Vicious, remember him?
Oh.
He is the man who was the master and the ruler of the universe.
Ruler of the world!
Universe. Says he has indeed been in talks with Vince McMahon for quite some time about a return to WWE. Now, this isn't only what Sid is saying, and I'm sure there is a certain sport that may conflict with...
Well, it depends on what time of the year he's coming back to Vince, because, softball season is usually April through September.
Says that he is not at all interested in TNA because TNA cannot give him what he wants, and that's to perform in front of 80,000 people.
And then he needs to run from January to April.
Let's go to the 3-count meathead. Each week we pick the top 3 names in the top 2 organizations, both WWE and TNA. And we'll start to the man to my right because he votes that way. In this,
you know what? Here's how much of
state of Wisconsin.
Here's how much of a donkey I am. When you kept calling me an elephant last week, I didn't get it. I know I'm on Team
Lord.
Elephant, but you get how much of a donkey I am. See, I actually thought that one out.
I'd like to get your TNA top 3.
My TNA top 3.
3-count.
Number 3 is going to go out to...
Why do you start that way? It's 1, 2, 3. 5 backwards, 3-count forwards.
I said my TNA,
You're
3-count.
You're 1.
Number 1.
Because it's 1, 2,
This is only the first time I've done it.
You lying sack of
Number
crap.
1. Watch the archives. Number 1 in my TNA 3-count is going to go out to Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe. Who, you know what? I still enjoy watching, but I guess I care a little bit more. Number 2 in the 3-count goes out to Karen Angle.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. I've seen some pictures with her at a cheeseburger. Then number 3, the 3-count, AJ Styles.
After all that you said about him.
He still can wrestle.
You sure?
He
certainly can wrestle.
He still can wrestle.
Number 1, ladies and gentlemen, going sort of backwards from the way Meathead ended, and my TNA 3-count is the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, who indeed can still bring it. Number 2, Chris Sabin, who I became a mark for at Genesis. And number 3,
was it his punk band haircut?
The man who will stay in the 3-count until properly utilized by TNA, in my opinion, Petey Williams.
What happens when he's properly utilized? Will he come out?
Well, he'll probably stay on, but it won't be obligatory in making a statement without saying a word.
Let's do WWE.
Why don't we do that, and why don't we start with you?
Number 3 in my WWE 3-count.
Number 1
I
first.
did that on purpose. Number 1. I do that to get you. Number 1 in WWE 3-count will go out to, I can't believe I'm going to say this, I cared.
Double F.
No. I cared about Ric Flair. Number 1 on the 3-count. I cared.
That's cute.
Number 2, Randy Orton.
Best prick heel in the history of the business.
And number 3, the 3-count, a tag team slot. They're not officially a tag team.
Then how do they make a tag team slot?
But they were tag team comedy gold on Monday nights. Santino Marella and Y2J. Y2J, everybody. You like that? The 3-count. The first 2 times I did it last week, I meant to hit him. The 3rd time, I took it easy.
And in the definitive 3-count, ladies and gentlemen, all of you clamored to your screens to see. And starting again from Meathead's top is my bottom, and that is Santino. Santino Marella is number 1 on my 3-count. KYJ. Number 2 is Edge, who is right back in it, folks, right back in the thick of things and in the main event at Armageddon. And number 3, top talent, WWE this week, goes to Y2J. So that
The end is near!
Armageddon, just 2 weeks away. Again, one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year.
Well,
I don't know why. I don't know why. Armageddon is just, even when it was SmackDown only, is one pay-per-view that no matter whatever you're at.
I missed the Armageddon six-pack Hell in a Cell when Rikishi jumped off and landed in the back of the pickup truck.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. Ever since Mick Foley in June of 1998, I believe it was 27.
Yeah, but it was Rikishi. Rikishi weighs 400 pounds more than Mick Foley does. Even though Mick Foley's not a thin person by
Rikishi's
any
a bad man, too. I don't know if you know that.
I'm a bad man. I did it for the Rock.
Let's talk about the Pro Wrestling Report, ladies and gentlemen. We have returned to YouTube. So,
Really?
viewers all over the world, yes, indeed, YouTube's changed some policies, allowed us to continue to upload the show without compromising quality.
Good.
Therefore, we are taking advantage of that opportunity. However,
Ever.
here's the catch. You will always get the first opportunity to watch the Pro Wrestling Report only at the Pro Wrestling Report website at pwrshow.com and in television in Milwaukee as we air simultaneously.
I also, you know what, we didn't mention here, and we failed to mention the podcast.
Indeed. Well, next on the list.
Okay. Well, I jumped the gun, and I didn't
actually.
actually.
Hefty script this week. We're on page 3.
What we need to do from now on when we start the show, welcome to the show for those listening on the podcast and those watching us.
Because you are a radio superstar.
Yes.
In your own mind.
Frank told me I was good.
Yeah, I can't believe much he says.
He got the Ric Flair thing right.
In addition to being back on YouTube, yes, indeed, we have the podcast. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But Meathead, in our debut, our return on YouTube with a full episode last week, we were the 12th highest rated sports program for the weekend.
Not wrestling.
On YouTube.
Sports.
Exactly. So we thank all of you for tuning in and providing those ratings and your comments. And share the video. Make it viral. Get it out there. Tell your friends about the Pro Wrestling
Don't crop my head onto any porn figures.
And just to make it clear, there are a lot of professional wrestling fans and people who claim to be insiders or outsiders.
We don't claim to be insiders.
On YouTube, and this is not, we're not challenging anybody or trying to take anything from anyone. No. I firmly have believed for a long time that we can all coexist. And this forum is one where you can come on over to the Pro Wrestling Report website, like I said, see the show early, get it on what I believe to be a better interface, and then also, if you choose, watch it on YouTube, be a YouTuber. In addition to that, folks, we have launched the PWR podcast, starting with last week's episode. You can bring the show with you on the go.
Audio.
And audio only, because we want you to watch the show on the website, because that's other stuff going on there.
Money. Yeah.
Not necessarily.
I'm kidding.
But the podcast is available, and you can subscribe to the RSS feed of the PWR blog. Find out when those podcasts are available and get it on your iTunes account
also,
or whatever you may have sold.
On that blog is the link to do it, like in iTunes, is the link to do it in whatever server you do. You copy and you paste and you put it into iTunes and it's just right there. Mine's already set.
So take PWR with you on the go, and we're just trying to make it easier for all of you. Speaking of easier for all of you, the voting for the final round of the 2007 Pro Wrestling Report Honors is now available.
Is Ring of Honor in there?
Well, Meathead, let's talk about that for a minute.
Really?
Because apparently we are stupid bastards for not including Ring of Honor in the voting. Here is the fact. I will say it again on this program because I will do it again. Ring of Honor last year was in every category. Each of the 3 organizations was represented. WWE, Raw, TNA, and Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. Ring of Honor in every category but Indie Organization of the Year was annihilated simply because, simply because there are so many more wrestling fans of WWE and TNA than Ring of Honor. Therefore, Ring of Honor, in this particular scenario, does not have a chance against WWE and TNA. Now, again, in my opinion, there is not a better wrestling company in their world today than Ring of Honor. There is not better talent being utilized in professional wrestling right now than Ring of Honor. In this application, it just will not be fair to Ring of Honor to include them in categories with WWE and TNA. We have very vocal Ring of Honor fans on the forum and who watch this program, and for that we appreciate it. However, there will be a category, which is Ring of Honor Pay-Per-View of the Year. Yes, they've had 2 or 3. So what? You get to pick them. We get to give Ring of Honor its due, what is owed to it, and everything should be happy in the world. I can think of 43 other things to be more concerned about than the fact that Ring of Honor was excluded by that idiot meathead in the polling. Because you're in charge of the interns, right?
I have a question. I have a question.
Just the certain interns.
Is Ring of Honor going to be in there?
Well, meathead, how do you do that? So hopefully that explains, it's not a slight on Ring of Honor.
Wait, how did
unlike a lot of you, I've been to a Ring of Honor live event, and as I said, best professional wrestling out there right now. Danielson, Nigel McGuinness, Austin Aries, the Briscoe brothers. I'm aware, all right? Just lay off for a minute. And
hey, is there going to be any Ring of Honor in there?
The final voting, available now, goes through December 10th on pwrshow.com. Now, there is a limited number of votes that can be accepted. So if you come to the site and notice that you can't vote, give it a little while. We can reset the voting. The interns will reset the voting once we reach that capacity. And remember, folks, you ain't going to know who's doing well and who's doing so well.
Just vote for who you want to vote for.
The only way to find out who the winners are is to tune into our very special episode of the Pro Wrestling Report on December 14th at 7 o'clock p.m. online, 9 o'clock p.m. on our television market in Milwaukee. And that's Central Standard Time, 7 Eastern rather, for the online show, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. For those of you in Milwaukee, if you're watching on TV in Milwaukee, you don't give a damn what Eastern Time is because you're in Central Time, so you're going to watch it at that time.
It's his first day here.
We're on right after SmackDown, you know.
Yeah, SmackDown, yeah!
PWR Honors, Frank will be here with us, and we will be announcing the winners of the 2007 Pro Wrestling World Honors. Folks, if you want to get a feel for what the honors are, make sure you check out last year's show, which is available on our YouTube channel.
Is the honors from
and in
1999
our archives
available?
Section. Not quite yet, nor are the older editions of PWR, which a lot of people are asking for.
I'm asking.
It is a bear of a project for our intern staff to convert those files and get them uploaded. So as they become available, they will become available. Because remember, coming up on March 18, 2008, we are celebrating 10 years. 10 years on the air. I'm not sure there's another professional wrestling news program that can say that. 10 years on the air, doing what we do.
Damian Nelson has the thickest skin. Meathead has the thickest skin. Frank Cosentino has the thickest skin because we've had to deal with each other for 10 years.
No, Frank and I have had to deal with him for the last 10 years. That's this week's show, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, is there going to be a Ring of Honor in there?
There will be Ring of Honor in the PWR Honors voting. However, there will not be a Pro Wrestling Report weekly show next week. You can tune in online and check out the Blizzard Brawl preview. Remember, Blizzard Brawl comes to Milwaukee. It's the biggest independent wrestling show in the Midwest each year. Comes to Milwaukee on Friday night, December 7th. And more information about that show can be found. It's a better word, found at blizzardbrawl.com. Blizzardbrawl.com for more information on that big show coming on December the 7th. Meathead, you and I will be doing commentary for that.
Third year
I'll be the play-by-play man, and you'll be the colored man.
Nobody calls me. I was born this way.
Frank will be on the stick in the back.
Frank is always on the stick in the back.
That is this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report. I am going to be at the Milwaukee Mob-initiated Barbary Coast next week, so that's why we're not doing a show in Las Vegas, Nevada. Balustrade, yes.
Oh.
Just saying. That's what I read, what I saw on A&E. Folks, obviously, we're done here. We'll see you next time right here on the Pro Wrestling Report.